Hello YouTube, Skip the Wolf here, back with another video for your viewing pleasure. And you know what time it is. The All That Remains review, Antifragile, the new album, just came out, and yeah, it was about what I expected it to be honest. Which I guess is a positive because I mean, in terms of like expectations and stuff, I mean, like you don't want to be let down by them doing something different. And in some instances, that may surprise you. In some cases, like there have been bands that I haven't liked that have made really good material. There's been the opposite of that, where it's like a good band will release a, an album that really isn't all that good, and vice versa. But like this one, I just knew exactly what I was gonna get with this, and yeah, I kind of have a complicated history with All That Remains. I did get into them in 2012 initially because like I was wanting to listen to heavier stuff, so I got into metalcore along with bands like Killswitch Engage and August Burns Red. And yeah, even As I Lay Dying, even though all the controversy that's happened with them is kind of ludicrous and all that, but that's not the issue at hand. We're talking about All That Remains, and the fact is, like I not grew out of them, but like I really got just it didn't work with me as time went on. Like I really liked them for about maybe 5 6 months, and then like after that it just kind of just went downhill. And I realized that they weren't that good of a band. That like they weren't really that good of a band in my opinion, and it just kind of deteriorated over the time. And I didn't want to have anything to do with them. Kind of came back and in like little like snippets every now and then, like every now and then since then. But most of the time it's just been like, yeah, well, they exist. I guess they're doing music, and yeah, that's basically it for that. So now we have Antifragile, which has them basically doing the same melodic metalcore thing that they've been doing for the past 20 years and stuff. This feels like stuff that would be on Overcome and all that jazz, and like maybe even like for We Are Many. There's some moments that could remind somebody of the fall of ideals and stuff like that, but like it's kind of like a dollar store version of Fall of Ideals with the instrumentation, like somewhat like where they had like some of that like fire, and then they just kind of like do something to kind of mess it up a little bit. Like, yeah, this is not a very good album, I have to say, and yeah, I know some of you will probably really love this album. I will really think that this is like one of the best albums of the year because oh hey look, All That Remains is back after like over 6 years at this point, and they're back with an album, and that's good. That is definitely a good thing. This is not for me, and I can have pretty much a lot of evidence to like back that up. One, Phil Lamonte's vocals are not good all around on this album. Like, I mean, like I don't really know if he's even trying that much on this album to sound like any sort of competent whatsoever. I mean, like there's moments where he's okay, I guess, like, but then he just like goes into like some kind of like ridiculosity, like on several of these songs. Like like I don't really like his high pitch like vocals very much, and they're really grating on this album. Like you go to tracks like the Piper, for example, where it comes out of nowhere in the second chorus, like, and it's just like you had so much potential building up, and then you just like sabotaged it by trying to make it just like a lot of other All That Remains songs that have that kind of like metalcore, like rough, like tough guy kind of like vocal delivery, which isn't really all that impressive. I'm just gonna say I'm not impressed whatsoever by his like mid vocals or his clean singing. Really, I'm not really impressed by that either. It's just kind of he sounds kind of shot a little bit, like in some instances. Like he doesn't have like a Howard Jones of Killswitch Engage or a Matt Heafy of Trivium kind of vocal delivery. He just like kind of like groans a little bit. Like he's trying way too hard to sound like good, and it just doesn't really work. Like, I mean, like, I can commend like some things about it, like the guitar work. All right, I guess Jason Richardson coming in for Ollie Herbert is a good idea. Like, Ollie Herbert was probably one of the few things in this band that I thought worked, and he's been dead for a while. Rest in peace. So we have Jason Richardson from Born of Osiris on guitar work and stuff. And some of the solos that he does on this album, like, they're not really that bad at all. Like, I think even if it is like kind of like noodling and stuff, like being technical for the sake of being technical, I mean, he has some like creative like ideas that he has on this album, like that he's like kind of allowed to do. Like, these wouldn't be out of place on one of his bands or even his solo work and stuff like that, which he does a good enough job on the album. Everybody else is kind of just playing it by the motions, I guess. Like the drum work, not that impressive. Like, even though it is fast, speedy, like like um in certain areas and stuff, it's just not that impressive to me. Like the actual guitar riffs, not the solos, but like the guitar riffs. Some of them work, some of them going through the motions. We've heard this before from All That Remains. They've done this kind of sound for 20 years. Like, they've done the technical thing like for 20 years. Like, courses don't really work on this album as much. Like, look at a song like, for example, Kerosene or Antifragile title track, or like they try one on the Poison It, I think, and they try several courses all throughout this album. They just don't really work that well. They're not really like melodic courses and stuff. And the root of it all is basically the vocal delivery from Labonte, which, like, I gotta say, this is like one of his worst performances so far. Like, I mean, like it's either like, and yeah, going into that, the production is also not very. It's very like polished, very flat sounding, very like dull. It doesn't have any punch whatsoever in the production. Like, and the production, like with A War You Cannot Win, which I had issues with, a lot of issues with. Like, they push his high screaming vocals to the forefront on it, and they just kind of just it kind of just takes you off guard so much that it's just like instantly peeves you for a second, and then you get back into it and you're just like not even interested in anything else that um, is in the song, because like, but at the same time you kind of know exactly what's going on. Like, you had such a good like opportunity on tracks like The Piper and Blood and Stone, even the final track, to do something a little different. There are sections on this album where they could have done something cool, like with the instrumentation, the piano on Blood and Stone, like the beginning of it, like the soft like violin stuff, orchestral stuff. You could have done something with that. You could have, but like it turns into like kind of a basic track that they've done. It's kind of bookended with those transition points from like with those like instrumental like soft orchestral like good piano playing stuff. Like, it's bookended there, which those sections of that song are good. And then the middle is just like, it's like kind of like a sandwich where like you like the bread, but like the filling is the filling is like surströmming or something like that, or like durian fruit or something. It's kind of just unappealing whatsoever. Like, it's just like not that good, I have to say. Like, I do think Cut Their Tongues Out at least has an idea and stuff. Like, they are trying to go a little more like angrier somewhat, even though the vocals are still not perfect on it. Like, they are trying to go a little like just like the lyrics aren't great, and that's something that's all throughout the album. The lyrics are not very good whatsoever, but at least on Cut Their Tongues Out, I do see some kind of like visceral like vitriol in the like in like everything somewhat. Like, it is like somewhat heavy, and it kind of works, kind of. And like another thing, No Tomorrow, that's probably like my favorite song on the album. I mean, it's okay. It's fine, I guess. No Tomorrow is fine. It's a fine like radio tune or something like that, like something that has some good instrumentation, like and has some good like stuff to it. Like, and Phil Labonte doesn't really do anything ridiculous on this track, which I'm kind of happy about. But like, like even with that, I mean, this album is just like nothing. I mean, at least I could say with like some of their other like bad albums, like War You Cannot Win, and like at least you remember like how bad that was, somewhat. Like, or at least it sticks out to me a little bit more. And then you have like Order of Things, which goes in all sorts of wild directions, and like it doesn't work at all. But like, I mean, they're trying something. At least on Madness, I mean, like they tried something that was like. I'm one of the few people that thinks Madness isn't that bad of an album. There's cheese on it, for sure, but there's a couple of moments where they actually do try to do something that isn't just what they've been known for, and it works all right. I mean, like, it's not a masterpiece of an album by any stretch of the imagination, but I can still see like it's fine. It's something. There's moments on it that are fine, like the title track from that album, If I'm Honest, works on it. Like, and some other tracks too, like kind of were okay on it. Like, I guess. And like that's pretty much it. I mean, like this is like one of their worst albums, I'm afraid. Um, like if you want to listen to like All That Remains, go to like Fall of Ideals or something, or even This Darkened Heart or something like that. Like those albums actually showcase the band in a better light than they do here. They're just going through the motions, making music, metalcore music that's been dated by like 20 years, and it's not interesting to me, at least, whatsoever. Like, I mean, there's so many good bands in metalcore that are trying something different, even probably with this style. Like Killswitch Engage has also been going for like almost nearly as long. And the thing is with Killswitch Engage, they've been actually making better music. They've kind of stuck to the same thing, but they've been pulling you in at least. Like, I mean, the band can at least incite some kind of like reaction out of you that's like something you're listening to something that's solid all over. Like, and I got that from the two singles. I don't think I've reviewed the second single. I think the second single pretty solid as well. The first single was solid. And then like bands like Trivium from that time that really grew and really like progressed into something bigger and stuff. All That Remains hasn't done that. I'm sorry, they haven't done that. They haven't done that here on this album. And this album is probably the first real dud of this year. Um, yeah, this just wasn't a great album in my opinion, but it's just my opinion. I mean, there's metalcore that's better in my opinion. Like, yeah, there's just so much more. I'm just definitely gonna say that. So I will give them like a bit of credit. So that's why I'm kind of going on a strong 3 for this album, because the musicianship and there's some ideas at least. Like I can see Blood and Stone, those sections are good in that song. Those like piano, like violin, like orchestral sections are good, and like they have some ideas that work, but it just wasn't enough for me to break it past that. So that's really all I have about this album, Antifragile, All That Remains, new album. Um, Definitely tell me what you think in the comments down below and keep it respectful. Definitely, like, I know this wasn't a very good review, but I'd like to hear what you think about it. If it's good, if it's not good, if it's in the middle, if you're kind of indecisive, if you haven't heard it, definitely tell me in the comment section down below. We will be back sometime, maybe with some more album reviews, because there's a lot coming out in February, and then there's a lot coming out in March and April. We just got some announcements from several different bands, so definitely stay on the lookout for that later this year. And this is Scamp the Wolf signing out. Take care.